We're going to introduce you to these clowns.
Mm.
That's sorry, JDub. I threw you in. I lumped you in with.
Yeah.
It's quite all right.
It's like a birthday party with musical chairs.
This is great. Thank God I'm recording it.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to the Dr. Z and JDub podcast presented by Provenzano's Deli and the Charger Athletics Fund. We appreciate you joining us today across all of our social media channels. And as always, our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. Today, our guest is Danielle Wozniak, who is the new Provost and VP of Academic Affairs at the University of New Haven. Dr. Z, I'm out of the studio for one day, and you've already replaced me with her in my chair.
You know, there's a little subtle message there, JDub. Don't get too far away from home base, right? You're going to changing it to the Dr. Z and Danielle podcast. I don't know. What do you think?
Z and Woz.
There we go.
It's got a ring. I kind of like this chair, to tell you the truth.
Done.
I'm in trouble. Well, first of all, a hearty UNH welcome to you, Danielle, as our new provost and again, VP of Academic Affairs. What do you think about our campus?
When I first saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is a way bigger school than I thought, and so impressive. And, you know, buildings are amazing, but the people that I met, one right after another, were just so delightful, sincere and genuine that I just really thought this is a great place. This is a place that I could be at home at.
You know, JDub, this fall, due to the pandemic of last year, my wife and I had a number of guests come here to watch football games and do other things. And as Danielle was saying, the common theme was the beauty of our campus. It wasn't what they expected. And I know in our conversations on campus with Greg Eichhorn and enrollment management, that's something that really is selling well to prospective students.
Danielle, were you surprised when Dr. Z asked you to come on the podcast?
Yes, I was. I was actually having a cup of coffee and in my slippers doing my emails. And he said, hey, by the way, tomorrow, can you do this? And I said, yeah, okay, sure. I was surprised, but also absolutely delighted. And I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to have such a good partner in crime.
Danielle, tell us a little bit about yourself. This is your opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience, which is not only UNH students, but student athletes, their families, faculty members, donors, friends of the university. So what would your message be to them about who you are and where you're from?
Well, I think one of the most important things about me is that I grew up in a family of 10 children. I was number 8 and we had one bathroom in our house. And so not only did you have to know your number, but you had to know when your number was called so that you could get in and then get out. I feel like I've been on a team all my life. And I feel like from my very earliest memory was all about how to cooperate, how to act as a team and as a collective. So I think that shaped my entire life. I also grew up on a campus. My dad was a professor at Miami University of Ohio, Cradle of Coaches. And we used to walk from our house to the campus to get him for lunch. And I would play Barbies on the library steps waiting for him. So I've been on college campuses all my life. When I was in kindergarten, my dad would pick me up from kindergarten and I would go to Senate meetings with him where I would promptly fall asleep. And so my promise to University of New Haven is this time I will stay awake for Senate meetings. And I was a direct practice social worker for 10 years as a school social worker. And then I chaired the Department of Social Work, Psychology, and Speech and Language. I was a foster mother for many, many years. And then after about 10 years, I thought it was time to go back to school. And so I got a PhD in anthropology, which was really a great way of studying human beings, but just from a different angle. So instead of studying individuals or neighborhoods or collectivities, this really was about studying how cultures are created and built and changed. And then I went into academia. I got my first teaching job at Western Michigan. And then got married, and my husband was in Indianapolis. So that was a little bit of a commute between Kalamazoo and Indianapolis. And so that wasn't great. And ultimately switched to Montana, University of Montana.
What was your doctoral thesis on?
The social and self-construction of motherhood and kinship among U.S. foster mothers. I had a doctoral advisor who wanted me to go to Belize and study fostering in Belize. And I said, I'd really like to study domestic fostering relationships and look at the disjuncture between policy and practice. So the bottom line was I had been a foster mother, and I knew that I approached it as a kin-based relationship. You can't have a child under your roof that you're caring for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not feel that kinship bond being created. And yet it's through the state's eyes, it's a board and care arrangement. That's really a commercial relationship. And so there's a real disjuncture. And so I stepped in to look at that disjuncture and to look at that. What does it mean to women who are actually doing that caring, that they're looked at one way, but they think of themselves in another? And how does it impact our larger understanding of kinship and family relations in the United States? So I thought it was really a great thing. I wrote a book about it called "They're All My Children." I had had an infant when I was writing it, and then I had another infant when the book finally arrived. In fact, at my son's bris, I had had my second child. The whole family, both sides of our families, were there in our house for this bris, and the postman rang the door and delivered a whole box of books that were hot off the press. So it was really nice.
You said you were a foster mother. How many kids and for how many years?
I had 2 girls for, I think, a year or 2, and then I had a boy for a year or 2. And it was it was very, very tough. I'd been a social worker, and I'd sat on the other side of the desk dealing with foster kids in schools and social workers, but I had never had that experience of parenting. And that it was really, really hard, very, very difficult. And so I came by that disjuncture naturally. I came by it through experience.
New to the University of New Haven, Danielle, but you're not new to the state of Connecticut. You have a long history here in the Constitution State. Tell our viewers and listeners about that.
I've lived in Connecticut most of my adult life. I finished my undergrad at Miami, and I just started moving east from there. I started my MSW at SUNY Buffalo, and then I transferred to Fordham and moved to Hartford, where I lived as I worked as a school social worker for about 10 or 11 years, but always coming back to home and to home base. And now I live in Wilton, Connecticut, and it's been great.
Let's take a moment to talk about Montana.
Oh, sure.
What are some of your favorite memories of the University of Montana and the time you lived there?
When I went there, I had 2 small children. And so I really sort of said a prayer that I should find a family-based institution. Mm-hmm. And it really was one. It was great for my kids. They went to summer camp on campus. It was family friendly, and it was wonderful. We had a lot of Native students to our home, quite a lot for different holiday celebrations, and it was really great.
You know, as you mentioned, you've lived all over the place. You've had a chance to work in a lot of amazing institutions for higher education. What was it about the University of New Haven that attracted you to our campus?
I really was looking for a place that really put students first. That really was a student-centric institution, and that not only said that in their statements or their bylaws, but really lived it. And so as I came across the university's mission statement, I thought that's really great. But then I kept going deeper and deeper to look at how that was articulated in programs, in policies, in student life activities, and consistently I saw a university that put students first. And consistently, I saw a faculty that was really tuned in to their students' needs, and to their students' success.
JDub is a faculty member. You and I talk about this a lot as we interview coaches and other faculty around the institution and or staff. You know, the type of student we have becomes a resounding theme here.
Now, Danielle, you just opened the door here, but I'll let Z ask the question about what is the deal with the chickens?
Yeah. I was hoping you're going to pounce on that. I know where this is going. And one of the things I left out of the things I like about Danielle waiting for this opportunity is her childhood summers being spent around the family farm back in Nebraska, which is awful close to Kansas. But she took something out of it. You know, I have a love for dogs and horses and cattle and whatnot. Hers is chickens. And I'm going to leave it at that and let her run with it.
So I did. If you had asked me before COVID, did I love chickens? I would say, they're delicious. But during COVID, we were all in our houses, and I've been off campus for the last 16 months. We really we're in a lockdown. And so I said to my husband, I think we should get chickens. So we ordered them from Missouri, and 9 little chickens came in the mail. And our postman from our town called us and said, your chickens have arrived. It was
We've
like
talked
6
about this quite a bit on our podcast. It's okay to hit the pause button and kind of live in neutrality, right, Z?
I love the concept of neutrality and finding your central focus and getting there in times of stress and anxiety. And you know, the world of agriculture provides so much of that, because whether it be chickens or cattle or horses or you know, a lot of people are more familiar with cats and dogs. They don't care what's going on in our world, what's going on when you turn on the evening news. And they have to be fed, and they have to be watered, they have to be cared for. And it teaches all of us kind of the rhythm of life,
the rhythm of the larger universe, that it's not just about us and the crisis that's right in front of us. It's about a much larger ecosystem that we need to tune into.
You know, I'm going to jump the shark. I don't do that on you very often, JDub, but as you're talking about yeshiva, I want to make sure in our time here that we talk about it. It's a very well-renowned university. It has an very interesting, unique history, and want to hear more about that, but also the program that you brought there and developed. And it's part of what's brought you here now is the success you had with the programming that you created and nurtured at yeshiva.
When I went to yeshiva, the School of Social Work was really floundering. They had about 200 students, and the faculty were very uncertain about the future of the school, and they were on hard times. But I just saw a way forward, a way to grow that program. I also knew that there was incredible need out there for really top flight clinicians. And so I went to the faculty and said, are you ready to get started and ready to go? Then buckle up and let's do it. And together we really envisioned a very forward-thinking program. And I began to develop partnerships with different organizations that wanted, and different universities that would send students. And we began to grow the school. So now we have over 1,000 students, and it's a thriving School of Social Work. And we have some excellent partnerships with undergraduate institutions that send their students to us. We also deal with some underserved communities that we know need really excellent social workers in the ultra-Orthodox Jewish communities. And I'm very, very proud of those programs. So it's a thriving program. We used our time during COVID to beef up our trauma training unit and our telehealth unit. So
great things for yeshiva and all the other colleges and universities you've been at, Danielle. You alluded to it before in the broadcast, so I think it's a perfect time to bring it up. What are your plans and goals for the University of New Haven?
I think the University of New Haven is poised for some exponential growth. I think that this school has amazing bones. So over the last 15 years, a lot of people have been very busy building some exceptional programs, some very forward-facing programs, and it really shows a lot of excellent thought. And now it's time to continue that momentum and to continue building, especially as we emerge in a post-COVID, hopefully, world. That's going to really impose some pretty dramatic changes on higher education. I think we're ready. I think we are poised for growth and for some real great program development. So what I would like to do is to bring the skills that I developed growing programs to University of New Haven, and to support my colleagues to continue their own growth journeys.
President Kaplan's fond of talking about the future of the institution, that if you're on an airplane, you take the oxygen mask and you put it on yourself so you can then help your neighbor. And that oxygen so often to me is metaphorical for revenue. And that's something that I know that Danielle brings to this campus as provost, the ability to be entrepreneurial in spirit and look for ways to create revenue out of our academic programs, which is really the lifeblood of any university, especially private university.
And to really get faculty excited and empowered to do what they do best. And that is think about what is the future of higher education? How can we serve our students better? What do students need in order to be thriving citizens after graduation? I find that faculty really love to think about that, especially with some support and encouragement. And once you can do that, I think it's in the bag.
Danielle, we appreciate your time here on the podcast. Once again, welcome to campus, Danielle Wozniak, our new provost and VP of Academic Affairs here at the University of New Haven. I look forward to meeting you in person on campus next semester.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to meeting you as well. And I'm also looking forward to meeting all of your listeners. I hope I get a chance to say hello to everybody.
JDub, I think she did so well. I'm thinking Dr. Z and Dr. Woz podcast doesn't sound bad. So
bye.
Yeah.
it's been nice knowing you, JDub.
It was fun while it lasted. Edition of the Dr. Z and JDub podcast presented by Provost Deli and the Charger Athletics Fund. For more information or how to donate, go to chargerathleticsfund.com. Again, our thanks to Danielle Wozniak, for producer Broccoli Rob Thompson, for our executive producer John Mays, for Dr. Z. I'm JDub. Thanks for joining us on the Dr. Z and JDub podcast. We'll see you next time.
So this is when I would typically ask, what do you do with the chickens when you're hungry?
I go get a peanut butter sandwich.